It was her last text. 2 words sent at 3:17 a.m. "I'm scared." Moments later, 21-year-old Hannah Cornelius vanished into the South African darkness. What followed wasn't just a crime, it was an hour of pure horror that shattered a family, a town, and any illusion that it could never happen here. This is the story no parent should ever have to tell, but every person needs to hear. A 21-year-old law student with a laugh that made strangers feel like friends. This wasn't a prank. It wasn't anxiety. It was her final message to the world, a whisper into the void. By sunrise, her hometown of Stellenbosch, a place of vineyard-covered hills and university dreams, would wake to sirens, to a mother's scream, to a silence where Hannah's voice should have been. We hear true crime stories every day, but this is different, because Hannah wasn't just taken. She was erased. Over the next few hours, for men would unravel a life bursting with promise. A life of rescued puppies and late-night study sessions. Of texts ending in "love you." Mom, we need to talk about the light before the darkness. Because Hannah Cornelius wasn't a headline. She wasn't a victim. She was the girl who'd stop her car for a stray puppy trembling on the side of the road, who'd bundle it into her jacket, drive to the vet, and name it Lucky before finding it a home. She was 21, a law student at Stellenbosch University in South Africa, a place where oak trees line the streets and the vineyards glow gold at sunset. She dreamed of human rights work, of traveling through Southeast Asia after graduation, of making her parents beam with pride. And her mother, Hannah called her every single day, FaceTiming over coffee, laughing about lectures, ending with "love you, Mom," like clockwork. That's who she was like, the kind you only realize was blinding after it's gone. May 27th, 2017. Started ordinary. Notes scribbled in a textbook. The smell of rain on campus pavement. That evening, she met friends at a pub called Dro's. They laughed over cheap beer, shared stories that ended in head-thrown-back giggles. When she hugged them goodbye around 1:30 a.m., no one felt a shadow pass over them. Why would they? Hannah walked to her car under a sky full of stars. She texted her boyfriend, "Turn the key in the ignition." This is where the dream ends. Not with a scream, but with the absence of one. The silence before the world goes black. It took less time than your next heartbeat. Hannah and Cheslin Marsh, her friend from university, parked near a quiet intersection. Rain had just stopped. The air smelled of wet asphalt and jasmine. 2:03 a.m. Keys jingled as Hannah locked her blue Volkswagen. Then movement. Shadows detached from darker shadows. 4 men, closing in. Cheslin saw the knife first. Cold steel catching a street lamp's glow. "Get out!" A snarl. A fist hammering the driver's window. Glass exploding like ice. Hannah's scream, sharp, sudden, cut off by a hand over her mouth. Doors wrenched open. A blade pressed to Cheslin's throat. "Move or I carve you." Hannah's whimper from the passenger seat. "Please." 60 seconds. That's all it took. To drag them into their own back seat. To shove their heads down. To peel away from the curb, Hannah's car now a cage. Cheslin's face pressed against cold leather. He could smell sweat. Cheap alcohol. Fear. Hannah's trembling leg brushed his. Her breath came in shallow gasps. "What do you want?" she whispered. The driver laughed. 90 seconds. From ordinary to hell. From "I'll see you tomorrow" to "Will I see dawn?" The nightmare ride had begun. Silence can scream louder than any sound. For Hannah Cornelius and Cheslin Marsh, trapped in the back seat of her own blue Volkswagen. The next hour was a blur of streetlights and terror. The car moved through Stellenbosch like a ghost ship. Empty roads, dark shop fronts. The whole town asleep while these 2 young souls lived a nightmare wide awake. The first stop came quickly. A bright ATM glowing like an ugly beacon in the night. One of the men shoved Cheslin. "Get out. Withdraw everything." A knife point pressed into his ribs. Cold. Unforgiving. Hannah watched, her eyes huge in the dim light. Cheslin fumbled with his card. His hands shook so badly he could barely type his PIN. Beep. 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 The machine whirred. Our 500 spat out. It felt like blood money. The man snatched it. Again. Cheslin did it. Our 500 more. It wasn't enough. A fist slammed into Cheslin's stomach. He doubled over, gasping. Hannah flinched as if she'd been hit too. "Please stop," she whispered. No one listened. The car door slammed. They drove on. Hannah's turn. Another ATM. This time, Hannah was pulled out. The night air was chilly. She hugged herself. Her card slid into the machine. Her fingers, usually so sure, trembled over the buttons. What was her PIN? Her mind blanked with fear. Panic flared in her eyes. One of the men growled, low and threatening, close to her ear. She remembered. R1, 000 this time. The machine hummed. The notes slid out. Green paper under harsh fluorescent light. The man grabbed it. More, he demanded. She tried again. Insufficient funds. The message blinked coldly. A shove. Useless. Back into the car. Her shoulder hit the door frame. She didn't make a sound. Just a small, choked breath. Cheslin reached for her hand in the dark back seat. Their fingers touched for a second. Cold. Desperate. A tiny anchor in the storm. Then they were torn apart as the car lurched forward. It became a sick routine. Stop. ATM. Shove someone out. A demand. Faster. The clunk of the machine. The rustle of notes. A grunt of satisfaction or a curse of disappointment. A blow. Sometimes to Cheslin. Sometimes just a threat hanging in the air. Thick enough to choke on. The smell inside the car grew heavy. Sweat. Cheap beer. Sharp fear. And the metallic tang of blood from Cheslin's split lip. Streetlights strobed through the windows, flashing across Hannah's pale, frozen face. Her eyes were fixed straight ahead, unseeing, or maybe seeing too much. What went through her mind? Her mom? Her dad? The puppy she'd rescued last week? The law textbook still open on her desk? The ordinary life that felt a million miles away now? Hannah's bank card. That small piece of plastic became their fragile hope. A ticket to survival? Maybe. Each time it went into the machine, each time it spat out cash, it felt like buying another minute, another breath, another chance the nightmare might end with them alive, dumped somewhere, bruised but breathing. Hannah handed it over when demanded, her movements stiff, automatic. Her silence was deafening. Only her eyes spoke, huge, dark pools of terror. Cheslin fought, not with fists, but with his voice, pleading, reasoning, trying to be human to these shadows. Take the car. Take the money. Just let us go. Please. We won't tell anyone. We promise. His voice cracked. His face was swollen now, one eye closing. His pleas dissolved into ragged breaths. His words hit a wall of indifference. A sneer. A punch to the shoulder. Hard enough to bruise bone. Shut up. The message was clear. You are nothing. Your words mean nothing. Your fear is entertainment. The landscape changed. The neat streets of Stellenbosch gave way to darker, unfamiliar roads, fields. The smell of damp earth replaced the town scents. The car slowed on a rough gravel track. Overgrown grass whispered against the doors. The engine cut. The sudden silence was terrifying. Get him out. The order was cold. Two men hauled Cheslin from the back seat. He stumbled, weak from fear and pain. The headlights cut through the blackness, illuminating a desolate field. Tall grass. Darkness beyond. Run. One of them spat. Run far. And don't look back. If you look back, he didn't finish. He didn't need to. The threat hung in the cold air. Cheslin stood frozen for a heartbeat. His body screamed at him to run. His heart screamed to look back at the car, back at Hannah. He met her eyes through the grimy back window. Just for a split second, her face was a mask of pure, unadulterated terror. A silent plea, a silent scream trapped behind glass. It was the most horrifying thing he'd ever seen. He ran. He ran like hell itself was chasing him. He didn't look back. He ran through the field, thorns tearing at his clothes, the cold night air burning his lungs. He ran until his legs gave way and he collapsed, sobbing, into the dirt. He was free, but he wasn't. Not really, because Hannah was still in that car, back at the Volkswagen. The doors slammed shut. The engine roared back to life. The headlights swung away, leaving Cheslin in utter blackness. Inside the car, Hannah was alone now, utterly alone. Surrounded by four men who had already shown her cruelty was their language. The car pulled back onto the road. It picked up speed. Where were they going? What did they want with her now? The money was gone. Cheslin was gone. She was the only thing left. The silence inside the car now was different. Heavier, thick with unspeakable dread. Hannah's breathing hitched. A small, broken sound escaped her lips. The kind of sound a wounded animal makes. The men didn't speak. They just drove, into the deeper darkness, away from the last flicker of hope Cheslin's presence had somehow represented. What came next? What happened in those final, private moments of Hannah Cornelius's life? In that car speeding towards an unknown horror, That's where words truly fail. That's the abyss. That's the part of this story that etches itself onto your soul and leaves a permanent scar. The sheer, suffocating terror of being utterly alone, at the mercy of pure evil, with dawn still an impossible lifetime away. Above it all, the moon watched, cold, silent, unblinking. It cast its pale light over a lonely gravel road snaking through the vineyards outside Stellenbosch. This is where they took her, Hannah Cornelius. Utterly alone now. The car doors opened. The night swallowed her whole. What happened here? In the dirt and the stones beneath that indifferent moon. Defies comprehension. We know she was assaulted. We know terror beyond imagining gripped her young heart. We know her final moments were spent in utter darkness. Human cruelty her only companion. And then the engine roared back to life. Headlights flared, cutting brutal paths through the peaceful night. The Volkswagen, her car, the one she'd parked outside the pub, the one that should have carried her safely home, reversed. Tires spun on loose gravel. A sickening, heavy thud. Not once, but twice. They drove over her body, deliberately, methodically. A final, unspeakable violation. They thought they were erasing her, turning a vibrant, laughing young woman into nothing but a problem disposed of in the dark. A secret the moon would keep. They were wrong. Hannah Cornelius refused to be erased. In the quiet dawn, when the first light crept over the vines, she left her clues, silent testaments screaming her truth into the stillness. A single sandal, flung aside, perhaps in a desperate struggle, perhaps when it happened. Small, delicate, an ordinary thing made heartbreaking. It lay in the dust, pointing towards the road like an arrow, towards home, blood on the gear stick. Inside the abandoned car, found later, dark smears on cold plastic, a visceral signature of violence, proof she fought, proof she lived right until the very end. And that text, sent hours before, pulsing like a ghostly heartbeat in her mother's phone. I'm scared. 2 words, a digital fossil, the echo of a soul reaching out from the precipice of horror. It wasn't just a message. It was her final, indelible mark on the world, a cry that refused to be silenced. Even by death, the killers drove away that night, believing they'd left nothing behind but broken flesh on a back road. But Hannah Cornelius was still there. In the leather of the driver's seat her father had maybe helped her choose. In the sandal fabric her mother had maybe touched. In the cold, digital light of a phone screen holding her fear. In the relentless memory of the moon, which saw everything and said nothing. They tried to erase her light. They only scattered it wider. Every grain of gravel on that road, every vine leaf trembling in the dawn breeze, every chilling echo of that text message. They whispered her name. Grief arrived like a heavy fog, thick and suffocating, settling over Stellenbosch and the Cornelius home. Hannah was gone. The vibrant light that filled rooms was extinguished. What remained was an unbearable silence where her laughter used to be. Her parents, Willem and Anna, faced a pain no parent should ever know. Their daughter had left for a night out with friends. She never came home. The funeral was held on a clear, cold day. St. Mary's Anglican Church in Stellenbosch was overflowing. Hundreds came, students, teachers, friends, strangers whose hearts had broken for this family. And everywhere, purple, Hannah's favorite color, purple dresses, purple ties, purple scarves, purple flowers filling the church with soft, sad beauty. It was a sea of lavender, lilac, and violet, a silent, powerful tribute to the girl who loved life so much. Willem Cornelius, Hannah's father, stood before them all. His voice, thick with tears but unwavering, filled the quiet church. He didn't speak of the horror. He spoke of her. Hannah, he said, the name echoing gently off the old stone walls, was love itself, simple words, profound truth. He remembered her kindness, her stubborn spirit, the way she hugged fiercely, her dreams of helping others. She saw the good in people. He said, a sob escaped from the crowd, even when it was hard to find. In that moment, Hannah wasn't a victim. She was their daughter, their bright, beautiful, deeply loved child. The church wept together. While the family mourned, the hunt was on. Police worked day and night. Tips poured in. Security camera footage from ATMs was scrutinized. Hannah's stolen blue Volkswagen Polo was found abandoned. The net closed quickly. Within days, 4 young men were arrested in the nearby township of Crayfontein. Their names, Vernon Whitboy, Geraldo Parsons, Eben van Niekerk, and Nashville Julius. One chilling detail emerged. When police arrested Geraldo Parsons, he was still wearing the jeans he'd taken from Hannah Cornelius. Her jeans, stolen from her body after she was killed. It was a stark, sickening reminder of the casual cruelty inflicted that night. Taking a life, then taking her clothes. The violation felt endless. The trial began. It was long. It was painful. The courtroom in Cape Town became a theater of grief and grim details. Hannah's family sat day after day. Anna, Willem, her brother, Rob. They listened. They held each other. They endured. Then came the autopsy report. The clinical, cold language of the medical examiner filled the room. Words describing injuries. Words describing cause of death. The brutal, undeniable facts of what was done to Hannah on that gravel road. As the details were read aloud, a heavy, suffocating silence fell over the courtroom. You could hear the rustle of a paper, the creak of a wooden bench, the sharp intake of breath from Anna Cornelius. The silence wasn't just quiet. It was the sound of collective horror, the sound of a soul's worth measured in wounds. It silenced everything. For many families, this is where the story ends, with the gavel falling, with sentences handed down, with walking away, shattered. But Hannah's family, they did something extraordinary, something that defied the darkness. Anna Cornelius, Hannah's mother, made a choice born not from weakness, but from a strength almost beyond comprehension. She chose not to let hate win. She reached out, not to the killers themselves, not yet, but to the family of one of the young men convicted, Vernon Whitboy. She met with Vernon's mother. Imagine that meeting. Two mothers, one whose child was brutally taken, one whose child had taken a life. Sitting together, what words could possibly bridge that chasm? Anna spoke simply, from the heart. She told Vernon's mother, "Your son broke me, but he will not break my humanity." It wasn't forgiveness for the act. It was a refusal to let the act destroy everything she believed in. It was acknowledging the shared tragedy, the devastating ripple effect that destroyed lives on both sides. It was an act of breathtaking courage. And they didn't stop there. Driven by Hannah's own spirit, her desire to help, to make things better, the Cornelius family founded the Hannah Cornelius Trust. Its purpose? To support other victims of violent crime and their families in South Africa. To offer practical help, counseling, legal guidance, financial aid, to be a lifeline thrown into the darkest waters. They turned their unspeakable grief into action. They channeled their love for Hannah into helping strangers navigating the same nightmare. Instead of crumbling under the weight of their loss, they built something good, something necessary, something Hannah, the law student who wanted to help people, would have been fiercely proud of. The sentences came. Vernon Whitboy, Geraldo Parsons, and Eben van Niekerk received life sentences for murder, rape, and robbery. Nashville Julius, younger and judged to have played a lesser role, received a shorter sentence. Justice, in the eyes of the law, was served. The men who ended Hannah's life would spend decades behind bars. But for the Cornelius family, justice was only part of the story. True justice, for them, meant refusing to be defined solely by their pain. It meant honoring Hannah by living the values she embodied: compassion, resilience, and a fierce belief in helping others. It meant looking into the abyss of human cruelty and responding not with more darkness, but with a stubborn, unwavering light. The purple ribbons faded, the headlines moved on, but in Stellenbosch, and in the hearts of everyone who heard this story, something lingered, not just the horror of that night, but the astonishing echo of a father's words in a quiet church, and a mother's impossible choice in a room facing the mother of her child's killer. She was love itself, and in the face of monsters, love itself chose to build, to heal, and to reach out a hand. That, perhaps, is the most powerful clue Hannah Cornelius left behind. What is the weight of a life sentence? 3 men, Vernon Whitboy, Geraldo Parsons, Eben van Niekerk, received life in prison for what they did to Hannah Cornelius. The youngest, Nashville Julius, got a shorter term. The gavel fell. The court record closed. Legally, justice was done. But for Hannah's family, standing in the echoing silence of that courtroom after the verdict, what did justice feel like? Was it the cold finality of a cell door slamming shut? Was it the years stretching ahead, marked by Hannah's absence at every birthday, every Christmas, every ordinary Tuesday? Was it the grim satisfaction knowing the monsters were locked away? Or was it something else? Anna Cornelius, Hannah's mother, faced a chasm. On one side, bottomless grief, rage, the natural human desire to see the world burn in retaliation for her stolen daughter. On the other side, the memory of Hannah's spirit, compassionate, hopeful, fiercely believing in people. Anna chose a path few could even imagine, let alone walk. She didn't seek out the killers in their cells. Instead, she reached out to Vernon Whitboy's mother. She asked to meet her. Picture that room. Two women, one whose child was brutally murdered, one whose child committed murder. The air thick with shared, unimaginable pain, yet worlds apart in its source. What words could possibly bridge that? Anna spoke, simply, clearly, from the raw, wounded center of her being. Your son broke me, but he will not break my humanity. Let that sink in. He will not break my humanity. It wasn't forgiveness for the unforgivable act. It wasn't absolution. It was something far more powerful, a refusal. A refusal to let the evil that took Hannah also twist her soul into something unrecognizable. A refusal to let hate become her prison. Even while her daughter's killers sat in theirs. It was an act of breathtaking defiance against the darkness. A declaration that her core, her compassion, her connection to others, would survive. This wasn't the end of their response. It was the beginning, fueled by Hannah's own spirit, the young woman who rescued strays and dreamed of helping others. The Cornelius family did something tangible. They channeled their searing grief into a lifeline. They founded the Hannah Cornelius Trust. Its purpose? Simple, vital, to support other victims of violent crime and their families in South Africa. Not just with words, but with action, helping cover funeral costs when shock and grief paralyze, providing access to trauma counseling when the mind shatters, offering guidance through the bewildering maze of the legal system, being a steady hand in the freefall. They took the shattered pieces of their world and began building shelter for others caught in the same storm. They turned "Why Hannah?" into "How can we help?" So, back to that question, justice or just surviving? For the Cornelius family, survival wasn't enough. Merely enduring the days, marked by the life sentences of others, wasn't justice for Hannah. True justice became action. It became refusing to let Hannah's death be only a monument to horror. It became choosing connection over isolation, compassion over bitterness, building over destroying. It became looking directly into the abyss of human cruelty and responding, not with a snarl, but with an outstretched hand to the next person trembling on the edge. The life sentences answered the law. The Hannah Cornelius Trust answered Hannah's heart, and Anna's words to a broken mother, "You will not break my humanity," that answered hate, with a resilience so profound, it echoes long after the courtroom doors have closed. Perhaps the most chilling part isn't the horror, it's the ordinary beauty that came before. We remember Hannah Cornelius not for the darkness of her final hours, but for the radiant, utterly normal light of her 21 years. To understand why this story lingers, why it finds a home in our minds and refuses to leave, we need to look at her Instagram feed. Sunflowers, giant, cheerful blooms taller than she was, filling the screen with summer gold. Just a girl celebrating a bright day. Puppy snaps, a goofy golden retriever mid-zoom. Tongue lolling, probably one she was fostering or had just helped. Pure, uncomplicated joy. Campus selfies, arms slung over friends' shoulders, laughing outside lecture halls. Stellenbosch's oak trees framing faces flushed with youth and possibility. The universal language of being young, alive, and believing the future is wide open. Coffee cups, study notes, a sunset viewed from her window, the quiet poetry of an everyday life. This is why Hannah's story cuts so deep. It shatters the dangerous, comforting lie we all tell ourselves. It only happens to certain people. To people who make bad choices, who go to the wrong places, who look or live a certain way. Hannah Cornelius was anyone. She was the girl next door, the one in your study group, the barista who remembers your coffee order. She rescued puppies, called her mom daily, pulled all-nighters for exams, dreamed of travel, and posted sunflowers because they made her happy. She was, in every beautiful, boring, brilliant way, ordinary. And that's the terrifying truth that haunts us long after the details of the crime fade. Tragedy doesn't stock types. Evil doesn't check resumes. It doesn't care about your plans, your kindness, your favorite color, or how tightly you hug your parents goodbye. It can touch the girl posting sunflowers. It can touch the boy delivering pizzas to save for college. It can touch the family driving home from movie night. It can touch you. Sitting right now, scrolling through your own photos, your own sunflowers, your own puppy snaps, your own ordinary, precious moments. It can touch me. Hannah's story isn't a distant nightmare. It's a stark reflection in a cracked mirror. It forces us to confront the fragile, breathtaking luck of every single uneventful day. The miracle of coming home, the ordinary grace of a text message answered. We cling to her Instagram feed because it's proof of a life fiercely lived. It's a digital heartbeat still pulsing. It screams silently. This was real. She was here. She was just like us. And that's the echo that lingers in the silence. Not just the horror of how she died, but the devastating beauty of how she lived. A vibrant, ordinary life. The kind most of us are living right this second. The kind that feels so permanent until it isn't. Hannah Cornelius haunts us because she is every one of us. And her story whispers the terrifying, necessary reminder: cherish the ordinary. Because it's the most extraordinary thing you have. Tonight, somewhere in South Africa, a purple porch light glows against the night. Soft, steady, defiant. It's not alone. Across towns and cities, in quiet streets and bustling neighborhoods, others shine too. For Hannah, for remembrance, for a simple, stubborn truth. Darkness doesn't get the final word. That purple light, Hannah's favorite color, has become more than a tribute. It's a quiet rebellion, a promise whispered house to house. We remember. We refuse to let the light go out. It's proof that goodness isn't loud or flashy. Sometimes, it's just a quiet, persistent glow on a front porch, refusing to be swallowed by the dark. So here's what Hannah's story asks of us now. Not paralysis by fear, not suspicion of every shadow, but this: look down. Look at your own hands. Really look. See the lines, the warmth, the strength there. These hands can build. They can comfort. They can hold. Tonight, hold someone tighter. Your child before bed. Your partner on the couch. Your friend across the table. Feel their breath, their heartbeat, their solid, miraculous presence. Don't rush it. Linger in that ordinary embrace. Let it sink in. This is the treasure. This is the fragile, breathtaking gift we walk past 1,000 times a day. Text back faster. That message blinking on your screen, the one you were going to answer later, answer it now. Not tomorrow. Now. Say the thing you're saving for someday. Call your mom. Tell your brother you love him. Send the silly meme. Be present. Be quick. Because later is a promise the universe doesn't always keep. Hannah's story isn't about the horror. Not really. That's the shadow. Yes. But the substance? The part that matters long after the shock fades? It's a blazing reminder to fiercely cherish the ordinary. The smell of coffee brewing on a Tuesday morning. The sound of rain on the roof while you're safe inside. The ache in your shoulders after a good day's work. The stupid argument you made up from. The boring commute home. The text that says, "made it safe." These are the moments that don't make headlines. They're too small, too everyday. We barely notice them. Until they're gone. Until they become the memories someone clutches in the crushing silence of a room where a loved one should be. That's Hannah's legacy. Not the gravel road. Not the fear. But the purple light still shining. And the urgent, pulsing truth it carries. Life isn't lived in the grand gestures or the distant dreams. It's lived right here, in the ordinary miracles happening in your hands, in your home, in your beating heart, this very second. So turn on your own light tonight, inside and out. Hold tighter, text faster, love louder in the quiet ways. Because the greatest tribute to Hannah Cornelius isn't sorrow. It's living, truly, gratefully, fiercely living the beautiful, ordinary life she was stolen from. And that light, it never goes out.